Oh, you would, Dave. Right mid sip too.
Mid sip, mid sip,
Yeah.
mid sip.
Hey, folks, how you guys doing? Welcome to the show that talks about super modifiers from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, tight and loose out. Welcome to the Fisher Custom Printing Studio. Dave Wallencheck here, my wonderful co-host.
Yeah. No applause needed. No applause needed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's needed. Hey, so Dave, how was your weekend, buddy?
Oh man, my weekend. We had another doubleheader. Friday night at Paynesville, Saturday at Lorraine Raceway Park. I tried to do my show on Saturday morning, and unfortunately, due to the storms, it knocked a bunch of stuff out up here, so I had to postpone my show. And power surge on this computer earlier today took a crap, so I had to run back to the station, go grab my extra power cord that I had for this laptop so we could do the show. So been working hard to get this done. So we're here, we're live. It's Monday night, ready to rock and roll with Jon Mckennedy.
Yeah. So what did you do on Sunday, Dave? Why could we not have the show? Why could we not have the show yesterday? All right, he's asking me.
Sunday. So here's the reason. Don't blame Willie, blame me, because I scored some tickets to the Steelers.
Yes.
Training camp / practice, and man, let me tell you, it was a great time. Really great time. Up close and personal with the Steelers players. Also took my buddy Amez down there, who's a Steelers fan. We kicked it down there in Pittsburgh for about 8 hours, man. We had a great time. Glad to experience that.
Oh, my stomach hurts. It's the talk of Pukesburg on the show. No, by the way, folks, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Dave Wallencheck is a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Me and Dave's been going back and forth about this for over 30 years. So, so it is whatever it is. Whenever Pittsburgh plays the Raiders, Dave's always sends me a line, or I'll send him a line. So it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun.
Speaking of that, this year they happen to be in Vegas for my birthday, and guess who's going to that?
Oh, I know. You've told me. You're trying to sucker me into going out there, but I just can't swing it this year. But yes, that's you're going to rub it in my face because you're going to go to the Death Star before me. So
You've never been? You've never been?
Oh no, I've only been to Vegas a couple times, man, and they didn't even have
I've been 3 times to Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, they never had the stadium built when I went out there. So yeah, hell, the Raiders aren't even moving out there yet. They're still in Oakland. So it tells you how long it's since I've been out there. But so let's go ahead and get into our sponsors. Like I said, welcome to the Fisher Custom Printing Studio. Fisher Custom Printing. They'll do all your banners. They'll do cups for you. They'll do any type of marketing things that you guys might have for your businesses. They can come out. They can do door lettering. They can letter race cars. They do a lot of other things. Anything that you guys have for marketing that you could think up. Go ahead and get a hold of them. Their phone number is 440-371-8424. That's Fisher Custom Printing, and let them know. Tight and loose out. Big Will sent you. Okay. And then we got Beauty by Storm. Like I've said the last couple of weeks, I got to meet old Miss Beauty by Storm, and down there on the front straightaway. I think I even got a picture with her too. Jim's going to have to send me that. I think Jim took it. But she's on Instagram. She has a lot of beauty tips and stuff like that. So get on there, follow her, like her, and let her know that you guys went and discovered her through Tight and Loose Out.
Wonder if she can help me out. I do get my haircut by I Fix Ugly.
Oh, there you Hey, you know what, Dave? Get on there and ask her, and I'm sure she'll be able to help you out. I know maybe I need to get some tips from her, so maybe I need to go ahead and listen to my sponsor, go to Beauty by Storm and get this mug taken care of. Then we got Smith's Drain Service. Smith's Drain Service. They're based out of Lorain County, Ohio. They take care of all your plumbing needs and your drain services that you might need. Their phone number is 440-242-8704. That's 440-242-8704. Go ahead and get a hold of them. Let them know that you heard about them on the show, and they'll get you a 10% discount through Tight End Loose Out. Use that as a promo code.
Did you say 10%?
10%, Dave.
10% discount.
Yeah, 10% discount, So, hey, every little bit helps, I'd rather pay 90 than 100, So, yeah. But those drain services, they ain't cheap. People got to get roots out and start snaking the drains. Smith's Drain Service, they can do that for you. So then we got Al Miller, AJ Miller, the number 69, 350 Super Modified, based out of Ohio. Al came on quite a few weeks ago. Just want to go ahead and say thanks, Al, for helping us out, buddy. Al does. He's a big fan of the show. Al always reaches out to me and talks to me about the show and stuff. I just want to say thanks, Al, for coming on and supporting the show. And then we got Catalone Pizzeria, based out of Hannibal, New York, where nobody's got a meatier calzone than Catalone's. Then we also have JC Woodworking, also based out of Hannibal, New York. Nobody plays with their wood better than JC. JC does some really good woodwork, and I'm being very serious about this. His name is Jason Carter. He's on Facebook. Look him up. He's always posting pictures and stuff like that of all of his woodwork that he does. Beautiful work. He just did a flag for the Eagle out of Oswego to help the Points Fund. So he does a really good job. Ask Will about the 100 pounds of air. That wasn't me, Slater. Tommy Slater just said, Will, ask Dave. I've heard this story. We're not going to get into it now. We got to go on with the show. But Slater, that's a funny story. I haven't heard that in like 25 years, man. It's been a long time since I've heard about that.
Hey, it's cancel culture now. We can cancel the show for that.
So, all right, let's jump into some action here, folks. We had racing up at Star Speedway here on, I want to say, I think it was, wasn't it Friday night? I believe they raced up there. They had the NES Supers. They raced up there on Friday night. You had Ben Seitz was the winner. Second was Bobby Timmons. And third place was Matt Swanson. Matt Swanson finishing third. Good run by all three guys. They got a busy week coming up this week. Oh, we got some Mckennedy questions already coming. Give me a second, folks. We will get into him for sure. Then we have the SBS Supers out of Oswego. They raced on Saturday. Sean Goslin won, but something happened in tech, and he got DQ'd. And Alex Hogue came out to be the winner. Alex Hogue was hanging on there at the end. I didn't know if he was going to make it or not, but he wound up going and he wound up coming away with the win. Tony DeStevens wound up finishing second, and Brad Hayes wound up finishing third. That was the SBS feature at Oswego. And then we go to the feature for the J&S Paving 350 Super Modifieds out of Oswego. Talon Hawksby wound up finishing third. Nick Barzee wound up finishing second. And last week's guest, and I'm going to say it again, he stunk up the show. Set fast time, won his heat race, won the feature, took the heavy check home. Josh Sokolik, or as they like to call him, Juicebox Josh Sokolik. Yes, Josh, if you're watching the show, a lot of people reached out to me. They told me you do have a nickname. And so we're going to go ahead and stick with that name for a while. I think forever, to be honest. So, yes, Josh Juicebox Sokolik wound up winning the 350 race at Oswego and won it handily, too, might I say. Then we get to the Mr. Super Modified feature. It was a great race, 75 laps of action. I'm telling you guys what, right now, if you guys are on the fence to go to Oswego this year for the Classic, I'm here to tell you right now, I feel that this is going to be one of the best Classics that we've had in quite a few years. This was a really, really good race. And I feel so bad for the Hustler. He was out in the lead. He was checked out. And for you guys that don't know, Michael Barnes is called the Hustler. He was gone. There was a battle with him and Otto, and they're shooking and jiving and just high and low. They really put on a show, but the Hustler wound up blowing the motor or broke something in the motor. Let's just say that. I don't know 100% sure if he blew it or not, but it could be just something as simple as a head gasket. So I hope they can go ahead and get that car motor put back together again. I understand that was a new to them car. That was an old car with new updates, and it looked very, very promising. Looked very good. Third place was Tyler Thompson. Second place was Dave Schulich Jr., the Shoe 2, the Deuce, as I like to call him. And then you got Otto Sitterly. Yes, Mr. Drag the Rag himself wound up coming out and being, once again, the 2024 Mr. Super Modified. Congratulations, Otto. That's awesome to see you back in victory lane again. I was very happy about that. I know it's been a while since you've been in victory lane. Also, we go in a non-wing car, and it was really cool. Everything that's happened to you over the last couple of weeks. You got on a little streak here, buddy. You've won the High Miler. You won the Mr. Super Modified. You got the Classic coming up. And then if you win all three of those races this year, all right, you win High Miler, the Mr. Super Modified, and the Classic. I don't care if I got to bring you back on the show again. Are you going to go to Star and run the Star Classic and win all 4 big major races in 1 year? All 4 big super modified races in 1 year. I don't know. Maybe my next guest on here might give up his seat for the man to get in there. I don't know. Let's go ahead and go. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go through his stats, ladies and gentlemen, and there's plenty of them, let me tell you right now. 1998 through 2001, he's got multiple championships. In 2003, he's the Star Speedway 350 Super Modified champion. In 2008, he was the Big Block Star Speedway Super Modified Series champion. He's a 4-time Modified Racing Series champion that he won in 09, 10, 12, and 16 with 23 total wins and its second all-time on that list. He's a 4-time Lee Speedway Ali Silva Memorial winner that he won in 12, 14, 19, and 20. He's a 4-time. I said 4-time.
Not 1 time, not 2 times, not 3 times, but 4 times.
Classic winner. He won him in 2013, 18, 20, and 21. He's a 2014 Tri-Track Open Modified champion. 2016, he was the Northeast Premier Towing Series Driver of the Year. In 2017, he was the ISMA champion. In 2018, his first win was the North-South Shootout at Concord Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. In 2020, he finished second in the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Series. And in 2022, he capped it off and won the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Championship. He's 37 years old. His name is Jon Mckennedy, and he's on the show right now. Hey, Jon, man. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
It's going good. It's going good. I am sorry if I ran a little bit long on your intro, but man, I feel that you deserve it. You are the man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a long road, a lot of hours, big commitment at this point, but it's all good. I'm glad a lot of it's paid off.
All right. So let's get right into it. I've got probably about maybe 4 or 5 text messages, and I got 1 phone call.
Let's hear it.
Are you racing the Super Modified on Wednesday?
Yes, I am.
Are you racing the Super Modified on Thursday?
Yes, I am.
Are you racing the Super Modified on Friday?
Yes, that's the plan.
There you go. And, folks, he's going to run the Modified on Wednesday also at Thompson. So there you guys know. So, yep. So I talked to him already. And like I always do, like a pre-interview to go over with these guys. But so, John, let's jump right into it. What got you wrapped up into racing?
Yeah, my dad was always, into racing. And at a young age, he kind of got me in some little racing karts. I don't know, 9 years old, maybe somewhere in there. And from that point on, I was just kind of hooked. I really enjoyed it, and it just pretty much has been my whole life from 8 years old till now. So almost 30 years of just racing, pretty much up and down the East Coast, all different forms of race cars. It's been a huge part of my life. Yeah, been very fortunate. Been around some great people. Drove with some great car owners. Just it's a big group effort, and here we are.
So, what was your biggest influence in racing? Like, who was your heroes growing up watching racing?
There was a few. I mean, Star Speedway was right in our backyard. I remember going there as a little kid watching guys like Russell Wood, Bentley Warren. I mean, those guys were like they were awesome, right? You see Russ Wood, he was the man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see guys like that when I was younger. It was just really cool, and here I am, 20 years later, racing against Russell still, and now I can actually race with them and beat them, and it's cool, Yeah, guys like Russell, Bentley Warren, big modified guy, Ted Christopher. Pretty much anything he ever drove, he was successful, won everything.
Yep.
I was fortunate enough to race with him a bunch over the years. When I was young, I seen what he could do in different cars, different tracks, and guys like them were just really, really impressive. I always say it's one thing to drive a car, and be good at one car, one track, but guys like Ted Christopher, Bobby Santos, these guys, they get in anything, any type of car, any type of track, and they win. That's a versatile driver. So that says a lot. Guys like Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, Ryan Newman, they were the same way. So that speaks a lot, I think. Guys that can hop in different cars, win different tracks. They can adapt. They're versatile. Guys like Ted Christopher, I mean, he was the man at that. It's unfortunate he lost his life a few years ago in a plane crash.
Yeah.
He was almost 60 years old and still kicking our asses. It was impressive.
Yeah, he was still doing it in the indoors too. I watched him race a couple times at the Gamblers Classic in Atlantic City, and I wound up walking up to him and I asked him for an autograph. He's the man. At TC, yep. So yeah, he'll be somebody that we'll never forget, for sure. But so got into karts. How'd you get into your first super modified ride or your first big car ride?
Yeah, so I ran the go-karts for a few years. That was a lot of fun. Won some races. Had some pretty good success with that. And then I did like a year or two, like in a mini sprint. That went pretty well. And my dad decided, well, let's try something a little bit bigger. I got a full-size stock car, Camaro, like a street stock.
Yeah.
I think I was only 13 years old, driving a full-size car against, guys 20, 30 years old. And it was tough, I remember a few months, it was definitely a learning curve, definitely spun out a bunch that year, got in a few wrecks, full-size car, 13 years old. But about halfway through the year, I was able to kind of adapt to it, get used to it. And, the last half of the year, I think we won 4 or 5 races. Again, young age, 13. And I did that for, I think, a year and a half. And then the following year, I got into the 350 Super Modified division. ran at Star Speedway weekly and then Lee Speedway. And yeah, just kind of, snowballed from there, just kind of kept moving up and going into touring series. And, here we are today.
Right. So I already got like about 3 people asking me this question, and I don't know if you can see the questions across the bottom of the screen or not, but everybody wants to know, are you going to run the Oswego Classic this year?
That's a good possibility. I really want to do it. I've been saying it for the last handful of years, I'm going to do it. It just hasn't happened. Between racing the modified deal, the last couple of years, I had a full-time deal with Tommy Baldwin Racing with the modified. That was priority. And between this racing some other stuff, it just hasn't happened. But it's a race I really like to do. I think it's one of those races that kind of fits my style. It's a long race. It's, you got to be smart, pace yourself. And I think I have a really good car that could run in that race. I mean, that super modified that I race, the record speak for itself. That car is awesome. Tracks with low grip, tracks you need a lot of traction. That car is just really good. So a track like Oswego with that little tail wing, I think that car would haul ass. And it did. We actually drove it. I ran it out there a few years ago. I think it was the first year they came out with the tail wing. And I want to say 2019 maybe.
Something like that.
And we went out there, my first time racing Oswego with the tail wing. They had the twin 40s, and I was leading the race with 9 laps to go. I had Otto behind me, and I thought we were in a pretty good, spot to win. I had one of my crew guys in the infield kind of giving me hand signals, and I had a 4 or 5 car length lead with like 8 laps to go, and the motor blew up. So that was obviously disappointing, but it was neat to go there my first time with the non-wing deal. We did some testing, got the car better. I got acclimated to the track and the car with that little tail wing, and we adapted. And I think I started 4th and got the lead early. And yeah, and that was, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago. And the car now I feel like is much better than it was back then. So if we can make it happen, I plan on being there. Just a lot of stuff going on between now and the next week or 2. So I talked to John, the coach.
For sure.
And I guess we're going to see how this week goes. We got a lot of racing coming up, and I'd say there's a pretty good chance I will be at Oswego this year for the Classic.
Okay, I got another question coming in. One guy, Chris Myers asked, talk about your relationship with Paulie Dunnigan, and do you think that those cars are competitive today?
Yeah, so, Paulie and I, Paulie's always been good to me. And that team closed down back in 2005, almost 20 years ago. He was nice enough to let me run the cars whenever I want, just take them, run them like they're yours. And, he let me use some of the engines. And I did that for a handful of years, had some success, won a bunch of races. And Paulie and I still talk. I don't race his cars anymore. It's been a while since I, raced any of his stuff, probably, 8 years or so. But yeah, yes. Paulie's a good guy. He's always been good to me. The Dunnigan family was huge in the super modified racing. His dad was like,
absolutely,
he was the man, right? He was heavily involved. Every race, with Isma, it was 2-3 cars he was bringing. I think One Star Classic, they brought 4 cars. They set the bar high. There was a handful of years they were just a dominant team. Dunnigan gave the guys whatever they needed. The cars were maintained and crewed by, crew chief Brian Allegresso. I call him the professor, extremely smart guy, very talented, a guy that taught me so much in racing going back when I was a teenager. So he's been a huge part of my racing, and, thanks to him. But, yeah, things with Paulie are good, and can those cars still be competitive, I think you asked. The question, to answer that question, I'd say yes, absolutely.
I agree. I don't think the times have changed all that much. They might need a tweak of an update, in my opinion, but I think they'd still be a top 5 car without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Those cars are A few of them are a little bit older now, maybe a little fatigued. That's just part of race cars, right? But I would think a little bit of TLC on one of those cars, kind of refresh them up a little bit, go through them.
Right.
There's no reason why those cars could, they could still go out and win races. I would almost guarantee you that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So you're a 4-time modified series champion, 09, 2010, 2012, 2016. Walk us through that. There's a lot of things that a lot of us Midwest. I live in Florida now, okay, and I used to live in Ohio, down to Florida 10 years ago. I didn't know a lot about you, and I'm learning more about you the more I got involved in the tour racing. A good friend of mine, Lenny Fowler, Mr. Modified, he's all about the modified, so I got to learn more about modifieds, and I started learning more about your background within the last 4 or 5 years. Talk to me about your Modified Racing Series championship from 09 to 2016.
Yeah, so they were all very different, all, very challenging. Back then, that series that we were running, the Valente Modified Racing Series, they had a really good field of cars back then. An average race, they were getting around, I'd say, 25 to, 27 cars. And every championship was different, right? So I look at 2009, 2010. Those were championships we won out of the family garage, the garage behind my house where I grew up, my dad, some friends, some family, all up in the garage, 20, 30 hours a week, putting the time in. My dad was a huge part of it. So those were cool to win a bunch of races and championships with my dad, with his car. And around that time, started winning some races and some doors kind of opened up. In 2012, I drove some stuff again with Paulie Dunnigan, won some races. And that year I actually drove a modified for Art Berry, which that was very cool. Kind of came out of nowhere. Art Berry was a huge name in modified racing, had some great drivers drive him over the years, guys like Mike Stefanik and so many great drivers. So that was really cool to drive for Art. Our first year together driving, we won a handful of races in the championship with Art. So that was really cool. And 16, I did it again with the family car. So, it was definitely a neat experience. A lot of work, a lot of commitment, and, couldn't do with all the people behind me.
Right. So you got the Ali Silva award, not award, but memorial winner, one from 2012, 14, 19, 20. Did you guys just hit up on a setup and just take off from there? Because I believe that's in 2 different cars, isn't it?
What was that? You broke up. The Ollie Silva race?
Yeah, well, those are in 2 different cars, aren't they?
Yeah, so the Ollie Silva race, we won it a handful of times. I won it a couple of times with Paulie Dunnigan's car, Lee Vinyl's car, which is now the Nicotra car. So, I won that race a handful of times with, 2 different cars. And, I've won modified races there, too. It's just it's a very unique track. Lee is very wore out, very abrasive. It's kind of technical. You got to be very smooth. And I just have a good feel for the place. It's one of those tracks, no matter what I'm driving, I feel like 2 laps of practice, 3 laps, I know the feel I need, whether it's, good or bad, and what to do to fix it. It's a track, you want to stay driving off the right front. And no matter what you do, you're never going to have that big, traction up off the corner. You just got to really roll on the gas easy and just learn that's the deal about that track. And and it's one of those tracks you try to pace yourself right around. And I've had races before I rode around for a long time and I never got the yellow and it didn't really work out. But usually there's a few yellows there. By the end of the race, everyone is so loose hanging on. There's usually a few yellows. So big thing there is just be smooth and try to keep as much traction on that car as you can. And it's been a good track for me.
And you've won 4 Star Classics. Is there one that sticks out that was your favorite?
I'd probably say the first one was my favorite. 2013 Paul Dunnigan car. A car that sat for several years. The last time that car really raced was back in 04 or 05 with Russell Wood. Car sat for years. Paulie called, "We want to take the car and run it." We did. Ran it a few races. Car ran good. That was probably one of my favorites. It was my first Star Classic win. I remember how excited my dad was, a race that my dad was, going to since he was younger, and just all the friends and family. The Star Classic in this area, the Massachusetts, New Hampshire line, it's a big race. I mean, the place is sold out. Cars are parked on both ends of the street, a quarter mile from the racetrack. The place is packed. It might have lost a little bit of its hype the last year or two, maybe, but, for the most part, it's a big race. And, I'd say 2013 was probably my favorite classic to win out of the four.
Are you going to go back to run the Star Classic this year?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yep.
Okay. Because you got the Evans Mills race and you got the Star Classic race, and it's like, where are you going to go?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to go to Star. It's 45 minutes from home, big race, a lot of friends, family going, some good sponsors there, people that have helped me a lot through my career. And it's a Star Classic, so it makes more sense in just all aspects to go to Star. And as much as I'd like to go to Evans Mill, I'm pretty sure you'll see me at Star that weekend.
As I figured. Talk to us about the trials and tribulations of winning the ISMA championship.
Yeah, the ISMA championship was big. Again, ever since a little kid, I always followed the super modifieds. I loved them. And ever since when I was younger, I always wanted to be one of the guys like the Russ Woods and, win races and win the classics and, hopefully one day be an ISMA champion. And I was able to achieve that, again, with some good group of people behind me. And that was a very cool accomplishment. It was a tough year. I remember that year very clearly, like it was yesterday. 2017, we had a really good battle all year with Timmy Jaretska. Timmy was driving one of Howie Lane's car. Pretty much the whole year it was kind of him and I back and forth, and it was a good year. We come out on top. We won the points, and it came right down to Thompson, the last race of the year. I think I only had like a 35-point lead. Each position's worth, I think, each position's like a 5-point difference. There's a bonus deal if you lead a lap. It's I think 5 points. So really, going into Thompson, that race, it was all within a few positions of who finished where. So luckily it all worked out. I think we finished fourth. Timmy, I think, was 6th or 7th. So that was cool. That was a big accomplishment, something I really wanted to do. And I was able to do it with the Lee Vinyl car, the number 21. So that was cool. My dad was there, a bunch of family.
Yeah.
Really, really cool year.
Yep. So Lenny Fowler just asked me, are you going to bring the tour mod to Oswego for the classic on the Bud 200? Bud was 150 now or something like that now, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I kind of thought about it, but with everything going on in the schedule and stuff like that, if we go to Oswego, it'll just be with the super and try to focus on the classic there, the 200 lapper.
All right. Lenny Fowler also had a question. He said he's watching Dominic Fairmont in your tour mod. You must have a ton of confidence heading into there with your super this week.
Yeah, Claremont's that's a unique track. It's very small. Each end of the track is totally different how you drive. It's a stop and go track, a lot of throttle, a lot of traction, and you're on the brakes an awful lot. So each end's different. Turn 3, you use a whole lot of brake, hairpin corner. In turns 1 and 2, it's more of an arc. You use no brake. So yeah, it's definitely a challenging track. It'll be interesting how some of the ISMA guys and MSS guys, adapt to it this week, Thursday. I know we did run out there a few years ago, and there was certainly a few guys that were tough. Otto Siddeley ran very well. He gave me a good fight. He finished right behind me in second, and most of the race, him and I were right there together. So and I know he plans on going back. So I think he'll be tough to beat, and I'm sure there'll be some others. I hope we have a good field of cars.
Right. Yeah. Same here. I definitely want to see a good cars for you guys out there. This is a real big swing for the New England area for super modifieds.
Yeah.
So let's get into tour mod stuff. You won your first NASCAR modified tour race at the North-South Shootout in Concord, North Carolina. I remember watching that on TV. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so my first NASCAR tour win was actually Myrtle Beach.
Oh, Myrtle Beach. I'm sorry, not Concord. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, it was Myrtle Beach. Tommy Baldwin, my first year driving for Tommy. I remember going into the race. It was something I was really looking forward to. Myrtle Beach is a lot like Lee. Very abrasive, no grip, wore out. It's all about just being smooth, throttle control, very easy to overdrive. So I feel like tracks like that really kind of fit my driving style. And I remember going to Myrtle Beach very confident. Even telling some of the crew guys, I'm like, man, if we don't break this weekend, I got a good feeling we're going to win this race. And of course, everyone's like, we'll see. We got 35 of the best modified showing up. My first race with Tommy. But again, just knowing how the track was and reading up on it and talking to different drivers, I felt pretty confident about it, and it worked. I mean, we qualified outside pole. We won the race. That was Tommy's first win with the NASCAR Modified Series. He took some time off with the modified deal and did a lot of the NASCAR Cup stuff for the last 20 years or so. And when he called me to drive his car, that was by a huge surprise. It was a really neat deal. I remember driving. The time I was in a 10-wheel hauling gravel, and I had a North Carolina number calling my cell phone. And I remember looking at the phone. I'm like, North Carolina, who is this? So
Someone's playing it.
It's Tommy Baldwin.
Yeah.
It's Tommy, and he says, Mckennedy. I'm like, yeah, who's this? Tommy Baldwin. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up, man? He's like, I want to run you down at New Smyrna. Get your ass down here. I'm like, really? And that weekend I flew down, got fitted, and yeah, it was a cool deal. I drove with Tommy for a few years, and when it was all said and done, we won a handful of races, won some poles, and 2 years ago we split up and kind of went different directions. But world of respect for Tommy, smart guy, and he did a lot in racing. So yeah, it was cool to get my first NASCAR modified win at Myrtle Beach and with a guy like Tommy.
How's Tommy doing? Are you staying in contact with him?
Yeah, Tommy's doing good. I'm sure you guys know he had a little scare there a little over a year ago. He had the cancer, and we did all his treatments though, and he fought hard. And as far as I know, things are going good. He feels good, and everything's good. So Tommy and I talk still once in a while, and I'm sure I'll see him Wednesday at Thompson, and he'll come over and bust my chops about something. He always likes to give me a hard time.
Yeah. Well, I always tell people if I bust your balls, that means I like you. So
yeah,
I mean, just like you.
Yeah.
So in 2020, you finished second in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Series, coming up one spot short. What was that season like? And that came down to the wire, didn't it?
Yeah. So going into that last race, the 2020, if I remember correctly, going into Thompson, I think there was 3 or 4 drivers that had a chance to win it. I think our only chance to win the points that year was if I won. I believe it was maybe Colby or Bonsignor, I forget. I think they had to finish like dead last. So realistically, the chances were pretty slim. But end of the day, we actually that race we ran both cars. I ran the Ismer Super Modified, and had an awesome race with Chris Purley, 50 lapper. Chris and I went back and forth for almost 40 laps. And at one point, I was in the grass in the turn 1, and we actually made contact. And somehow we both kept it off the wall. It was it was crazy. I remember I had a really good one on him off of turn 4, and I got pretty much right beside him at the flag stand. And just as we got past the flag stand, he kind of motored back ahead of me enough where he was almost clearing me. And in my mind, I was already committing to the bottom on the apron, and I was going to do the slide job, down on the flat, drive in straight, and slide up in front of him, kind of like how you pass it, Thompson. Well, Chris knew I think I was still there, and he did what he had to do. And when he went into turn 1, he entered really low, almost on the flat. Where the whole race he was entering in the middle of the corner, and I was already committed to the bottom. So as Chris came down very abruptly, I almost drove right over him. And I remember I had to make a split-second decision, either drive over his left rear or hit the grass. And I had both my left side tires in the grass at Thompson into turn 1 sideways. We both hit. And I remember we both came through turns 1 and 2 sideways. And it's amazing none of us crashed. It was definitely a little bit of luck. And we kind of gathered it back up. We both took about a lap or so, I think, to make sure our cars were okay. And they were. And about 2 laps later, I was able to pass them cleanly. And we ended up winning. And my next race out was with the NASCAR modified race half hour later. And we led a lot of that race with Tommy's car. And I finished second. And it came so close to winning both races. But ended up second and finished second in the points. So it was a good way to close out the year at Thompson.
My good friend, Kenny Fowler, like you said, he's Mr. Modified. He wants to know how important to win a NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour championship.
Say that again, bud. You broke up. I only heard something about a championship.
Yeah, how rewarding is it to win a NASCAR Wheel and Tour Modified championship?
Oh, that was big. That was probably the icing on the cake as far as things I wanted to accomplish in short track racing. I won a bunch of modified races and other series, open shows, all different tracks. I don't know, 18 different racetracks. But until I felt like my career wasn't complete in my own mind, at least, until I won a NASCAR modified championship. I wanted to be able to do that. Whatever it took, I was totally committed and dedicated to try to win a NASCAR modified championship. That was something I really wanted to do. And really, after I won the ISMA championship in 2017, I think it was the year or two after I started driving for Tommy, and I'm like, man, this could be my chance. I got driving for Tommy a few years. We ran good, and in the last couple of years, I ended up driving for the Lapines, Tim and Cheryl Lapine, the Middlesex Interiors, number 79. And that was my full-time gig with them, working on the cars full-time, the modifieds and the supers and racing. And at the end of the day, I was able to win a championship with the Lapines, 2 years ago. And that was big. It was a ton of work. And let me tell you, the NASCAR modified series is no joke. It is the toughest short track racing you're going to do. And I think you talk to guys like Bobby Santos, who's raced everything, he'll tell you the same thing. Modifieds are extremely difficult. There's so many smart people in the modified deal, especially with the NASCAR modified tour. A lot of smart crew chiefs, a lot of great drivers. Everyone has top-notch equipment. The average tour race, let's say there's 25, 30 cars. With a little bit of luck and the right circumstances, you got 15 people that can win at any given race. And I always look at the modified deal as you got like 4 Dave Schulichs out there, 4 Russ Woods, a couple Jeffrey A. Balls, a couple Otto Sitterleys, a handful of Chris Purleys. Like, you got some really good drivers. Again, all great equipment, and it's a tough deal. It makes you a better driver. It makes you smarter. And I can honestly say, over the years, racing the modifieds and competing with the NASCAR modified series the last handful of years, it made me a much better driver, much smarter about the cars, the dynamics of a race car. Driving for a guy like Tommy Baldwin for a handful of years, a guy that's made a living at the NASCAR national series with the Cup Series, winning the Daytona 500, winning some other races with guys like Casey Kane, Ward Burton. All that helped big time the last 4 or 5 years going back with the super modified deal. It's just, there's a lot of depth there with the modified deal, and to finally win that championship was just great. So much work went into it. All the guys, the pit crew, it was a huge commitment. Just doing pit practice, once or twice every other week, getting all the guys to the shop, setting up the nitrogen bottles, rolling the car down the street, doing live pit stops. It was a ton of work. It was a great feeling, though, and we were able to win the deal at Martinsville at the end of the year, and we almost won the race. We were leading at the end of the race, had an awesome pit stop, and had a few restarts.
That race,
we were holding the lead, and I thought we were in a great spot. And I think the last restart with 4 to go, Corey LaJoy kind of made a bonehead move off of turn 2 and wrecked half the field, including me. And lucky I was able to refire it and blend back out in the field like 15th there, and we're able to finish the race and win the championship. But obviously, it would have been cool to win the race and the championship and get that clock, grandfather clock, but we didn't. But championship was the big picture, and we're able to win that. So that was awesome. That was a huge weight off my shoulder and something I'm very proud of.
Yep. So with that being said, a couple more questions, and then we're going to go ahead and let you get out to the shop and get working on the race car. Got a question here. What is more fun to drive, super modified or a tour mod?
It's a good question. I'd say overall probably the super modified. It's just such a fast.
Take that, Liddy. Take that, Liddy.
It's just, man and machine. It's 900 horse pretty much sitting on your lap. You reach out a few feet right in front of you, you can touch the motor. It just lays right next to your leg. The car weighs nothing. It's an absolute missile. You got a big top wing, a big nose wing. I mean, it's a very fast race car. A ton of fun. It's really cool. And the modified's fun too, don't get me wrong. The modified's obviously not as fast, much heavier car, not as much power. But the racing is different. There's pitch stops involved. It's more of a kind of a group effort, you could say. Some of those modified races, you go there with 7 or 8 people, and everyone has a job. The pitch stops, everyone has their own little job. So it kind of brings more of the team involved with the modified. And the pitch stops are challenging and fun, and the races are long. The racing is extremely tight. Some of those races that we go to, like we'll go to Thompson Wednesday, with the NASCAR World Modified Tour, and the top 20 cars will be all within 0.2 of a second.
Yeah.
So it's tough racing. It's very challenging for sure. But it makes it fun, and again, it makes you a better driver, and it makes you push that thing to the limit to get everything out of it to run up front. And I think at the end of the day, when you go back and a series like with the super modifieds, it again makes you a better driver because the modified deal is just so competitive, and there's so many smart people. And if you can run that for a handful of years, learn, pick up a few little tricks here and there, it makes you a better, well-rounded racer.
I got another question from Chris Myers. Favorite modified track and a favorite super modified track?
Ooh. I'd have to say one of my favorite modified tracks is, I'd say Thompson's right up there. I really like Thompson. Very cool track, paperclip, big 5/8, high banked, fast, pretty technical track. That's one of my favorites, I think. And I have to say New Hampshire Motor Speedway with the modified is probably my favorite. A 1 mile track. The modifieds there can actually draft. Very challenging. In the draft, the cars just get extremely loose because you lose all that air off the spoiler. And, I've had a lot of good runs there. And I'd say Loudon with the modified is probably one of the funnest tracks. And as far as the super modified, Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I might have to go with maybe Star Speedway or maybe even Lee. I mean, I like them all. I really do. I've been fortunate enough to win in a lot of different tracks. But I really like those little small tracks. I got to say, they're just technical, wore out, bumpy. You know, you got a rocket ship in that little tiny quarter mile. It's just a lot going on. I mean, Star Classic, 150 laps. You strap in that car, 40 gallons of fuel. The first 30 laps, you know, everyone's fire out the pipes, cars are bottoming out. It's a cool deal, you know, running around 11 seconds a lap. It's pretty neat. So I'd have to say probably Star, the super modified Star Classic.
All right, so I'm going to finish the show like I do with everybody. What I do is I'll ask you a series of questions and just simple answer. This is the Atkins Glass quick question segment right here. What is your favorite win and at what racetrack?
Favorite win? I'm probably going to go with Myrtle Beach NASCAR Modified Tour with Tommy Baldwin. That was a big one, and yeah.
Okay. When you're not racing, what do you do?
I feel like when I'm not racing, I'm somehow still involved with racing, whether it's working on cars or testing. I don't know. Just somehow, some way, we're always involved with racing. And our newest thing lately is we got a bunch of little racing go-karts that my buddies and I all go out with, you know, a few nights a week and have some fun. And yeah, just, I don't know. Racing's a huge part of my life. Somehow, some way, I'm involved with racing.
Trust me, I get it, and so does my wife. What's your favorite sports team?
My favorite sports team?
Yes.
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Yeah. I thought you were more of a Bruins type of guy.
Bruins are pretty good. Yeah, they're good, but I don't know. New England Patriots, it's a tough one to argue. They were
right.
the team to beat for many years.
If there's a concert coming to your town that you felt that it's a must go to, what would be that band or group?
Couldn't even tell you. I really don't. I don't have an answer for that one. Not too into music or any of that stuff. So
don't listen to.
Yeah, I mean I do, but
okay.
I don't have an answer for that one, bud.
Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite snack? If I went into your pantry, what's that one thing that I know I can go in every day and it's going to be in there?
Ooh. Lately, it's these little fruit snacks. Those little things in the little packages.
Same here. The Welch fruit
snacks. Yes. You think they're good, right? Good for you because they're a fruit snack, but I'm not too sure they really are. I mean, each one's a different color: red, purple, black. So there's a lot of little additives in there to them.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Oh,
yeah, those little things, they taste good, man. I don't know.
I get it, man. I get it 100%. Yes. What is your favorite beverage? Doesn't matter. Favorite beverage.
Favorite beverage. I have to say Gatorade. I don't know. I like Gatorade.
Really? Yeah. Okay. All time, you can only pick one. Favorite track.
Ooh, all-time favorite track. The Hampshire Motor Speedway.
I kind of figured that. Yep, I kind of figured that. So.
Yep.
Well, folks, there you go. There's Jon Mckennedy. He's got to get out to the shop. There's so many more questions I want to ask him. I'll have Jon back on the show again sometime in the future. Jon, thank you so much for coming on. John's going to be racing Wednesday. He's going to be racing Thursday. He's going to be racing Friday. Their boys are out in the shop right now. He took time out of his day to come out here and get on this show and let us chew on his ear for a little bit. So, John, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, no, thanks. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for having me on.
Yep. All right, John. Well, good luck, and hopefully I see you on Classic Weekend up there at Oswego.
Sounds good, man. That's the plan.
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Oh. Well, hey, I think we got some breaking news there from Mr. Jon Mckennedy. He's planning on running a super modified for Classic Weekend.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Breaking news. We got it from Mr. Mckennedy himself, right from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And he's not going to take the modified there on Saturday, which he just probably wants to focus more on the super, and I get that. That's cool. That's fine. So yeah, Dave, anything you want to go ahead and throw in on this?
Oh no, man. I mean, John's very interesting. Big fan of the NASCAR wheel and modifieds. I didn't know paid much attention to him over the last year or so, but I will now that John's there and whatnot. And I had some things I had to take care of while we were on the show, so I was trying to make some things go while I was sitting here watching and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, good interview, Willie. Good interview.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. But before I do, I'm going to get something off my chest. I have made a post on Talking Super Modified Past and Present about that the Super Modifieds should drop heat races. And I'm going to explain myself just a little bit. I'm not going to carry on too much. From my view, from the flag stand, when I flagged at Heimeiler a couple weeks ago, and from what I watch on TV, those top four guys will get into the top four. They settle, they don't race, they don't pass, they don't do shit. So either they need to go and figure out to put more cheese on the hamburger for these guys to race harder to go for the lead, or just drop heat races. Let's just hot lap them. Let's qualify them. Let's line them up for the feature, and let's get out of here. Now, that is just for the big block super modifieds. I don't mean SBS. I don't mean 350. I'm talking for the big block super modifieds, and that is it. I don't want to hear this shit that you got to give the bugs to get worked out. That's what you work on your shit for at your garage. Get your bugs worked out there, not during a heat race. That's my view on that. So take it or leave it. It's my opinion, and this is my show, and I can say whatever the hell I want. So sorry, but not sorry. Dave, I just want to say thank you very much for having this format and letting me come on with you and, do this awesome show. Really, really good interview with John, and I just want to say I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure working with you, and I can't wait, to see who we're going to get next week. I don't know who the guest is going to be. I'm going to reach out to an SBS guy and see if I can get an SBS guy on there. I know Kaloka's going to probably go ahead and probably have to hook that up for me, but we'll go from there. But thank you guys for all the great questions today. I appreciate it. Just want to say I love all you guys so much. And I'm going to tip the bellboy, and I'm going to check out, Dave.
All right, there you go. We'll see you guys next week, Sunday night, 7 to 8, right here, Red Line Radio. Tight and loose out. Have a good week, everyone.
Let's take it home.